Hi there, and welcome to the Multiply You podcast, where we showcase top experts in their space and reveal all the secrets you need to know to multiply you.
Hey, everybody. Good morning. Austin Clark here, host of the Multiply You podcast. Very excited to be able to have our guest, Margaret Garcia, on today. She has a very unique background, and I think one that people will be very interested in. She's also doing things in the space that I don't think anyone else is really doing quite like her in her firm. So I'm excited to be able to introduce her. This episode and this podcast, it's sponsored by my company, Moxie Pest Control of Arizona. We are growing for a variety of different reasons, one of which is what Margaret will talk to us about. And that is just good old-fashioned customer service, smiling on the phone, first call resolutions, a bunch of different sorts of things like that. Another reason and a primary driver the last few years has been because we have grown via acquisition. We have found that in many of the markets, or most of the markets that we're in, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of competitors that are looking to get on with the next chapter of their life for one or a variety of different reasons. And so if that's you and you're listening and you've got 3 or 5 plus trucks on the road and you're looking to retire, golf more, work less, please reach out to me directly. I'd love to be able to have a conversation with you. We're paying top dollar right now, and the market is just in a really, really good place if you own a home service company. My cell phone number, you can reach out to me directly, call or text. Text is usually better. It's 480-254-9730. And you can also email me directly at aclark@moxiepestcontrol.com. The other thing that I wanted to let everyone know about is author Michael E. Gerber of the E-Myth. He and I, we co-authored the E-Myth vertical for the pest control space, and it's done. And we are launching it together. Michael is coming to keynote. It's Thursday, November 3rd in Phoenix. And if you'd like details about attending that event, which is free, please reach out to me in the same way. And I would love to tell you more about it and kind of what we've got going on. Margaret Garcia, she's the president of Grit PPO, the only 100% United States-based female-led business process outsourcing company designed specifically for the pest industry. A true industry partner providing teamwork and valuable contact center support services that strengthen your client relationships and the value they see in your brand and business, one call at a time. Margaret and I, we just got to know each other a little bit. And I just said, I think that that's fantastic. You're probably the only person or the only company out there that's doing something just like that. If I had it my way, no offense to any of my male, employees, but all of my employees would be female for a variety of different reasons. They're just kind, more patient. They suffer more. They are really, I think, in essence, key of what we're looking to be able to do at Moxie. But it is so good, Margaret, to have you. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So walk us through first, Margaret. We'll get into contact center and customer service and how it's kind of like a dying thing right now. How did you kind of get into the position that you're into now? I mean, have you always been in the contact center space? Where did you start? Give us the Reader's Digest version of where you started and kind of how you became the president of this incredible organization.
Yeah, I've been in the pest control industry for about 20 years now. I actually worked for one of the top 40 pest control companies in the northeastern, part of the
Wow.
region. They were not too long ago bought by Anti-Cymax, and while I was there, I just really had I would say the opportunity, really the unique opportunity to be, what I consider kind of a 360-degree employee, meaning I started out many, many moons ago doing telemarketing, for tick control services when it was a luxury service. I did really well because I talk fast. Usually people wouldn't hang up on me really quickly. I had the advantage of working, in the call center as a customer service manager. I was involved in retention and marketing. The owners of the company really exposed me to a lot of different things and allowed me always to kind of be myself and flourish and take things and run with it and be creative. And with that, lots of great things come from that. I wound up leaving years later after I had my last daughter, and I kind of left wanting to really just go like retire somewhere and fold clothes at Macy's. You just wanted to like
Yeah.
not use any like brain power, but this industry just pulls you in. And, sometimes when you've been doing something for that long, it's all you know. So that's kind of like where getting back into it came from. And I realized one of the unique things that I felt was a skill set was really kind of also teaching this, customer service, but pest control customer service is unique in itself. It's a whole different, kind of, beast when it comes to, when you're interacting in an emotionally driven phone call and trying to maintain call control and build rapport and be all of these things on the phone call at the same time. And so I recognized that my skill set all the time was kind of training on that. And so we kind of came back to that.
So you've certainly had a lot of previous experience that has prepared you to kind of be doing what you're doing now. How long have you been the president of Grit PPO? And like, what do you do all day? I mean, what does the president of an organization like that do all day?
Oh, I nitpick and listen to everything that everyone says all the time. But yeah, we just celebrated our 5th year in business, and I'm still very hands-on with, what you say on the phone and how you say it. I'm a big proponent of words are brain food, and that you have to constantly be inspecting what you expect. We're just so used to just kind of, going through training and with our with technicians in the field, with our customer service reps, and then you kind of like set it and forget it. And it's really important to always come back to it. You have to constantly have these chin checks with your team because, I tell my team all the time, like it's like if you don't like to be, rubbed, you'll never truly be polished. And so we always have to go back to what we're saying, how we're saying it, making sure we stick to the core things of what we believe is like our call flow, because you forget it sometimes, or you just get through the hustle and bustle of the season. You get busy and you think that you're saying things a certain way and you lose it. And all of it ties into, what we provide, that first call resolution service, and so sometimes when you sway from it, you just need that reminder. So I'm constantly with my team, making sure that we're sticking to the original game plan. And I always say like, I know what the right thing to say is because I've spent many times saying it the wrong way. I'll never forget being a CSR and telling somebody over the phone that, her application that we were doing was safe. I used the word safe. And she happened to be like a professor. I can't even like remember the whole conversation. All I just know is I got schooled on what a carcinogenic was, and I never used the word safe
Yeah.
again. I was like, and she was looking at buying a service, but it was just the way that I said it. She still bought it from me, but she schooled me on like, kind of what I said. And so it comes back to that pest control customer service is different, than many industries that we work with.
Well, and better, Margaret, that you said it to her rather than an attorney. And you know what I mean? So yeah, safe. I don't think you're able to use that too effectively, even though it is.
Yeah.
So I have an issue that I wanted to discuss with you. I want to talk one about just the bar being so low as it relates to customer service. I want to dig more into what customer service is. I think that as we kind of discussed before, most business owners, whatever industry you're in, of course they want that for their clients. They want to experience a wonderful experience. They want to have someone answer the phone on the first call. When they do, they want that person to be happy and smiling. They want to hear their smile through the call. They want it to be a first call resolution, like you said, and not be passed from department to department. And we all, you and I, and that are listening, we all have those experiences in our mind of when we called this airline or this rental car company or whatever it was, and it was just the work. Unfortunately, we have more bad customer service experiences than good ones, but when we have those good ones, we definitely remember them and we share them. The issue that I wanted to talk about, and I take real issue with this, I did not like it. I was at a conference last week, and one of the speakers said, look, our customer service people, they already kind of feel like they're at the bottom of the pile, or they're at the bottom. And I was thinking in my mind, one, I don't feel that way. Two, it's not true. Three, our people on the phones, they are absolute rock stars and need to be treated as such. But the comment that he said is, and he's an advocate. He's an advocate for you. This person's an advocate for me. He's an advocate for customer service and customer service representatives. But he said, our customer service people, a lot of them, they feel like they get the leftover donuts that the technicians leave behind in the morning, sort of thing. And, before I went off and said, oh, well, that's not us at Moxie, that's not, I thought, is that us? Is that how our people feel? Do they know how important their job is? And while I think that for the most part in my organization, yes, they do, I think there's much, much, much more that we can do as leaders, managers, business owners to be able to empower our people to know just how important those exchanges are, not just from a monetary perspective, but just from doing the good old fashioned right thing of listening to someone, resolving their concerns, staying calm if maybe they're not, those sorts of things. And so, would you maybe, Margaret, just for a moment, like speak to that? Was the person that I heard, was he off? I mean, is that kind of the consensus or how a lot of people feel in the customer service space? Or what are some of your thoughts?
I think that it's a little bit of a mix. Having been, a customer service rep like in that seat, I really think it has to do with the organization and the company culture. Because it's funny, you mentioned like, some, teams maybe feel like they're the ones that get the leftover donuts at the end of the day. I could tell you in the environment that I was in, we got the coffee and the donuts very early in the morning brought to us. We got bagels, we got, it was very much an environment that favored that, if the office wasn't happy, nobody was happy, kind of thing. And
Oh,
so there was
yeah.
a lot of emphasis. However, there was also still not enough attention that customer service reps wanted to know just as much as the technicians in the field. And a lot of the times felt stifled with how far they could take a call and help a customer. And so it's really important, that as a result of the times, customers have little patience now when a company simply, or the person answering the phone, right, just doesn't know something. With the wealth of data and the good technology options they have, consumers feel like there's no excuse for you not having the information or getting it wrong. And so it's, even a more of an effort now. It's a completely different landscape on the phones than it was again 10 years ago. To make sure that the people that are answering your phone and representing your brand have enough training and resources that they need. So do we really place enough emphasis on the importance and the value of the interactions that we have with our clients? From that, like I mentioned before, from the first experience when they're calling into the company with their pest need to us, contacting them back when their issues are persisting and they're frustrated, with having an ongoing pest issue or when they're trying to cancel. And I think that it sometimes for some organizations doesn't go beyond just answer the phone and book an appointment or send a message to a service manager. When you have really great team members that want to help the customer truly, that are the ones that, put on that smile, they want to take the call all the way through to the end. And it's very frustrating when you have to pass it off, and then hope that whoever takes it on then, takes it through to fruition. Or sometimes they just don't know what happens to it after they pass it on. So when you have team members that want to give that good customer service, we've got to give them all the information and resource they need.
So let's peel the layers of that onion back a little bit more as it relates to good customer service. So we can say we want to provide good customer service, but my definition of that and your definition of that and Jane's definition of that over here could be three totally and completely different experiences. And so how do you define that? And then how, Margaret, like what checks and balances or systems and processes do you have in place that ensure that service level standard and that help to be able to deliver a consistent experience every time someone calls?
Yeah, I mean, from a customer service representative, we want to make sure that we have all the information. So for us, for my team, when we work with a pest control company, we extract a lot. It might not even pertain to what I'm doing, but I want to know it all. We kind of consider it like it's a muscle that we have. Whether we flex it is going to be completely up to, the company that we're working with or the scenario. But you always have to have all the information. And the most important thing is making sure that your team knows how to make an unhappy customer happy. When you go stay at a hotel, if you go downstairs to concierge and you complain about something, they probably already have like 10 things in their arsenal, right? That they can do to rectify the situation immediately. Whether or not it's going to make me happy, it depends on what I'm unhappy about, but they still have, right, that arsenal ready to comp you something, to offer you something, to do something. And I think that's really like one of the first, kind of stages is dealing with unhappy customers. Does the team have the resource that they need? as a first level. We always extract that from the companies that we work with. And if they don't have that in place, as far as what can I do on the phone immediately to make this customer happy, whether it be maybe extending a service coverage or giving, a free coverage in lieu of something, we make sure that we check off those boxes and that my team has that, because a lot of the times when somebody's calling in to complain, there's that one moment that can, make it or break it.
Yeah, I've heard something said that any frustration stems from expectations that are either not met or are unrealistic, and so from time to time, we fail our customers. We don't pick up as quickly as we should. We don't get out as quickly as we should. They have more pest pressure and activity than either they should for a variety of different reasons, and so we certainly need to have those comps in place. And
Hmm.
the part of that too is I think that that's also not like a marketing strategy, but it's certainly an investment, because if you take someone who's emotionally upset or in distress and you can turn that negative, if you will, into a positive, they are telling people about that.
Hmm.
And so just as we've had poor customer service experiences, you and I, Margaret, we've also had experiences where it maybe started out that way, or we had expectations that weren't met, but then they had these comps and they made it right. And guess what? We told our spouses about that. We told our work associates about that. We used it as a good example in a training that we were giving, at work or whatever else. So you want to be able to have those things there. What else in your mind? Like, what are a couple of things that companies can do? And when people say, "Oh, it's just common sense," I don't like hearing that, because common sense is not very common
Hmm.
anymore, and I don't know if it ever was. But I mean, if there's companies out there that are starting on this journey of improving their customer service experience, what are some things from a contact center perspective that they could immediately do? I mean, like, what are indicators of quality or good customer service that it's like, hey, thing number one, first call resolution. Thing number two, I mean, what are some things that they can do to improve
Yeah.
it, like, immediately?
Yeah, I mean, goals are first call resolution. You want to make sure that you've got, a design in place that says you can take this call, from start to finish as far as whoever's answering the phone. I mentioned about unhappy customers. There's going to be unhappy customers. Having some type of, way to resolve those issues, no matter how small, little is important. Everybody in your team should always have enough information on the company's treatment options, even if it excludes pricing, that helps them build value in the service as well as the features and benefits of the company. I go into companies sometimes and I ask, I do training, and one of the things I start with is like, what makes us great in this company? And you'd be surprised sometimes how your own team sometimes can't pull together like 5 or 6 unique things. I mean, I hate to say it, but pest control companies think, oh, it's like, third generation, 60 years in business, bronze, silver, gold. That's not what sells, your service. There's so many other things that make you unique that sometimes your team doesn't know how to highlight. Um, and then, pest knowledge. I think that customer service for many years lacked the same training that the service field technicians, get. And it helps them to be able to resolve a customer's issue or schedule appropriately or, explain something. They don't need to know exactly what he does, whether the treatment's granular or liquid, or whether or not he's going to do a crack and crevice treatment, but just basic best pest biology. Like, is something moisture driven? Oh, Mrs. Jones, that makes sense why you're seeing them in the kitchen and the bathroom, because they're moisture driven. That part where you're also helping educate the customer that it's this symbiotic relationship between what they do in their home and what your pest control provider does that helps make, a location or a home less habitable for a pest, or so that you're making it not a harborage area where they can breed and obviously populate is important. So giving them those basic things, making them even understand what a treatment might do. If we go out and we treat a carpenter ant issue and we hit a nest, there's going to be an increase in activity. That's something to expect. If your customer service team doesn't know that, then when I take the phone call and Mrs. Jones says, "Hi," the famous line, right? Your guy was just here. You should get T-shirts that say that, right? Your guy,
Yeah.
your guy was just here. Your guy was just here. On Monday, and he treated my carpenter ants, and now they're everywhere.
And
Well,
there's more bugs than ever. Yeah.
right, like, you made it worse, right? He must have sprayed water. Those are like the famous lines. a CSR that's untrained to even understand just the basics of like what to expect from a treatment, or the little basics of the pest biology, might think, okay, well, let me schedule a callback. When realistically, you might say, Mrs. Jones, that actually lets us know that the treatment is working and it's effective, and so let's give it a couple of days to So it's all about like giving the team the arsenal that they need. Again, not just with unhappy customers, but just understanding what it is that they're representing, what it is that your service does, how to set the right expectation from the client, no matter what.
Well, and I really like that too, because not just as general customer service imperative, right? I think that those are some of the soft skills that really matter. The technical aspect of what you're doing really, really matters too. We pride ourselves at Moxie in being experts, if you will. And so the majority of our staff on the phone, we have them licensed, like they're licensed field applicators as well. Depending on where they are in their career path, that becomes something that they can do. But to understand, just like you were saying, Margaret, how different products work, or why a client may be seeing an increase in activity a couple of days after a treatment, doesn't mean that you need to go back out there for free to handle it. It just means that, first of all, probably expectations should have been set and communicated a little bit better at the beginning, but also to be able to say, this is actually a great thing that you're seeing an increase. It means the product is working and it's effective. And here's the reasons why. I know that it seems like this isn't a good thing, but it is. Give it a couple of days. The products, they're tried, they're true, they're proven, and it'll work out really nicely for you. Well, very good. I mean, as we start to kind of in the next few minutes round this out, you have worked with hundreds of different clients in the pest control space. And I'm not saying like who are the companies that are doing it really well and who's doing it really, really poorly, but what behaviors do you see in companies that are consistently getting their customer service from their call centers right? Like, do they have do they have like dedicated training every day? Do they have a program? Do they have incentives for their employees? What are some of the things that they've got in place to be able to provide that level of service?
I think for the most part, I mean, it's really about understanding that when it comes to your customer service team, like where this is work is having to be in a good mood 100% of the time. It's not necessarily knowing all the things about, the pests or the different softwares and CRM. It's really just having to show up and be in a good mood 100% of the time. Because like we said, those skills of smiling on the phone and things like that. And I think that the companies that really place that emphasis on, that positive work environment and that everybody contributes to it. It's not just like pizza on a Friday. It's really, keeping things fun, keeping things fresh and lighthearted in between taking the calls. Because I mean, pest control customer service, like you're having to be sorry a lot on the phone. Like, I'm sorry he didn't show up. I'm sorry, so you're still having the issue. I'm sorry that you got a bill in the mail. Even yes, I do see that payment was applied here
You should
last
get a
month.
T-shirt for that too, right? I'm sorry.
Right. So like we're asking for emotional labor out of our customer service team. So making sure that we're, rejuvenating that for our team and making sure that they're exercising that mental, health is really kind of important. And you do that by, making learning fun, making what they're doing fun, making things that relate to their job, quizzes about, like we said, about pest bios, or, having things that pertain to being on the call. Like in my company, we might have, like a bingo day where it's like different call scenarios get you bingo. It's still relating to what you're doing on the phone, but it still makes it fun. Um, you know, Everyone's very competitive. So, playing, different quizzes that pertain to, again, insect knowledge or whatever it is that you want to make it, just makes it, where you're exercising and learning, but still taking it away from being bogged down with having to be, I'm sorry all the time. I think those companies that really place the emphasis on the company culture are the ones that really get it right, making sure that people know right from the day that they're hired, what they represent on the phone. By the first interaction, the upset customers, that you are the face of the company at every pivotal moment. So it's important to never kind of lose that smile, no matter what. I mean, I've had people come in that work for me, and they come in and they're like, slouched down, and you can just hear it on the phone where the customer sounds more awake than they are. You gotta send you. I gotta send you home, like you right, because if that's what we're getting today, then I'd rather send you home than put you on the phone. And it's about like being kind of responsible for making sure that when they come in and they're on the phones and they're representing you, that they are doing it 100%.
As we again kind of round this out, what I hear in that last piece is just it really is about employee care. And so, when you kind of let out and saying it's really about having people be happy in their best selves, I'm like, man, is anyone happy anymore? Is that possible with human beings? Because that's a challenge. Just, I mean, we went through a pandemic and then post-pandemic and inflation and there, wars going on. I mean, just take 2 minutes and look at headlines and it's like, man, doom and gloom and whatever else.
Hmm.
We spent a tremendous amount of resources, and I hope that other business owners will listen to this too. But we have probably made adjustments either as it relates to healthcare, as it relates to wages, as it relates to mental health, as it relates to all those things that people are really needing right now. PTO, like their entire whole employment compensation package, that probably is in the $750,000 range in terms of investment annually, with not adding any more employees, if you will. And so I think it's important that companies are profitable, because when you're profitable, you can take some of those profits and reinvest them back in the company and into your people, which are your very, very greatest asset, especially coupled with a really good system and process. And so the better you can have your people show up and play and compete and be part of that team, the better you're going to do for your clients. The better you do for your clients, your company is going to grow. They're going to tell people about it. They're going to refer others. It's going to be a good, positive experience. And so really drilling in. And if you don't know where to start there, like survey your customer, not your customers, but survey your employees. They'll tell you what they want.
Hmm.
And there's things that all of us can do, no matter the budget, to be able to, help out quite a bit there. Margaret, this has been a wonderful conversation. I'm so glad that we got connected and that you spent time with me and my audience today. If people want to continue this conversation with you and Grit, what is the best way to reach out to you or to interact with your company and brand?
Oh, you can definitely find us on the web. Our website, it's www.gritppo.com. My contact information is the Margaret@gritppo.com. We're always, kind of accessible through the internet.
Very good. Well, hey, thank you very much again. And everyone that's listening, we really appreciate you too. These will drop 2 times a week up until the book launch on the 3rd. And until then, create a great day.
Thank you for listening to the Multiply You podcast. You'll see us again soon when you subscribe for future episodes.